Hey, ladies and gentlemen, so we have to tie stuff together. So we have talked autotrophs, heterotrophs, producers, consumers, decomposers, all of this junk, but now we got to tie it all together so that we can really study ecology. Remember I told you that ecology, that's the unit we're in. We're going to look at it as a whole. We don't care about individual things anymore. We care about how do things relate to each other. So let's jump in. So energy enters the ecosystem through sunlight, and then it's converted into food by producers. We have known this since your first blue packet way back in cells. You know this, that the sun is the ultimate source of energy. Everything on Earth eats the sun one way or the other. It eventually does end up in your mouth, the sunlight. But producers are the only things that can do this. They do photosynthesis in order to convert sunlight into usable energy, known as glucose or sugar. So that energy is transferred to organisms that eat the producers, and then is transferred to the ones that eat that consumer. So we are starting to preview food chains, and you should remember this from, oh goodness, 4th, 5th grade, heck, maybe even a little bit earlier, 2nd, 3rd grade, who knows? So you are a consumer. You eat plants in some sort, so maybe you really like onion, or maybe you like squash, maybe you like green beans, asparagus, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, eggplant, all of these different fruit or vegetables out there. You're directly eating the sunlight, but maybe you're more of a meat eater. Okay, so let's think of how that would work. So this movement can be shown through food chains, food webs, and energy pyramids. Today we're going to talk about food webs and food chains. And then next time we come back together, we're going to talk about energy pyramids. We're going to have them on 2 separate days. So this looks a little confusing. There's lots of arrows, there's lots of stuff. And we're going to kind of break it down, but let's preview it now. So what's happening is anytime, I'm switching to the laser, anytime you see a arrow, it is pointing into the stomach of where it's going. So the sunlight is going into the plant's stomach. I know plants don't have stomachs, but play along. The plant, the producer, is going into the grasshopper's stomach. This grasshopper can go into the hawk's stomach. It can go into the weasel's stomach. It can go into the shrew's stomach, or it can go into the spider's stomach. So that's kind of how this is working. The spider could go into the hawk's stomach. It could go into the weasel's stomach, or it can go into the shrew's stomach. Okay, you see here the only thing not being eaten is this owl, is the biggest consumer on here. So nothing eats this owl in this particular food web. So food chains, these are a little bit more simple to understand. So a food chain is a series of events in which one organism eats another and obtains energy. The whole point of your body getting hungry and then eating is to replenish the energy that you lost. Everything you do, breathing, thinking, blinking, writing, going to school, walking, exercising, that's why I don't exercise, eating food even burns energy. You use up calories. So when you're using energy, you need to refill it. Think of my dog's food bowl or my dog's water bowl. When she drinks, it gets empty. Well, I can't let her go thirsty, so I have to put more water into it. Same thing with your belly. When your belly gets empty, you got to put more food into it so that you have the energy you need in order to survive every day. So let's look at this super simple food chain here. So in this food chain, we have grass. Well, actually, we start with the sun. Okay, start with the sun. The sun goes into the plant. That plant goes into the grasshopper. The grasshopper goes into the mouse into the snake, and the snake into the hawk. That hawk might die, and then the mushrooms, the decomposers, they recycle it back into the plant, and it starts all over. So this is a food chain. Food chains, see, let's go back, hold on, I want to jump ahead. Food chains are very limiting. Look at this one here. It's saying that every mouse ever on Earth eats grasshoppers. Only. That's not true, okay? Mice eat a variety of insects. They eat a variety of plants and berries and mushrooms and all kinds of stuff. So food chains are very simple. This is how you learned it in 2nd or 3rd grade because your brains were tinier and they weren't ready to understand food webs. So food chains are great but food webs are better. So a food chain shows only one possible path. That's not good, because if you were in a food chain, maybe your food chain always points to a cow. And that's the only thing you're allowed to eat. You're not even allowed to have the bun. You're only allowed to have the hamburger. That would get boring after a while. No good. Okay, no one wants to eat the same thing every meal for their whole entire life. Even my dog doesn't do that because she gets food that I eat. So food webs are much better. So most producers and consumers are part of many food chains. So that's why we're going to put a food web together. Think of a spider web. It's all complicated, and there's different paths, and there's different ways you can go. So it's a more realistic way to show how energy moves through overlapping food chains. We're going to put a bunch of food chains together in the same food web. So once you kind of understand the pattern, this is super easy to get. It does take a minute to understand what's going on though, but we will tackle this together. I'm not going to leave you behind. So organisms may play more than one role. So there's some roles that we need to know here. Okay, so food webs are interconnected just like food chains. Maybe in one food chain a bird eats fish, but in another it eats mice or a mouse. Okay, so food webs are just... Oh, excuse me, I'm so tired. Food webs are just more realistic. Okay, cats in nature. They might eat birds, they might eat rodents. Some birds might even eat foxes, some other predators. So having a varied diet is important, and showing that they have a varied diet is important. So actually, if you wanted to waste your whole entire life doing one thing, you could make one big food web for the whole entire Earth. That'd be great. You probably could make a couple dollars when you're done and you're 80 something. So good luck with that. But if you do, remember, shout out your 7th grade teacher. So here are the roles. We already know some of these, so this should not be totally new. Decomposers. These guys eat dead stuff. The waste, the remains of other organisms. So when that animal dies on the side of the road, or when there's a big pile of cow poop and some mushrooms start growing out of it, it's eating that waste. Decomposers restart the food chain or the food web. Producers. This is the easy one again. We already know this word. This is the base of the food chain or food web. The first organism will always be a producer, because every food web and food chain on Earth starts with the sun. Always. Starts with the sun, and then it goes to a producer. So even though this food web doesn't show the sun, you see that yellow blob behind it? Boom. Right there's the sun. Okay, so the sun is right here behind it, and then here are our producers. We have a tree, we have acorns, some berries, some pine cones, some flowers. These are our producers, and notice right here, it's the base. Base means kind of bottom. So here's the bottom of the food chain, and then we go up and up and up, and we're going to keep on learning about these different levels. Stupid picture coming in early. So first level consumers, or organisms that feed directly on the producers. Think of it this way. If you're running a race in track, and you're the first one to cross the finish line, you're first, right there. Pretend the finish line is plants. Okay, that's all you have. This is super easy. The first thing to eat the plants, boom, right here. That's our first level consumer. This grasshopper is our first level consumer. He's eating directly on the plants. Guess what's next? Second level. This guy eats the first level consumer. So this is a second level consumer because he is 2 steps away from plants. 1, 2. Or because he eats the grasshopper that ate the plants. I like to count steps though. I think it's easier. The mouse is 1, 2 steps away from the plant. That makes him a second level consumer. Guess what's next? Third level. The third level consumer eats the second level consumer, or in my case, it is 3 steps away from the plant. So here's our snake. 1, 2, 3. Nice and easy. That snake is 3 steps away from plants. So the snake is still eating plants, but it takes 3 jumps to get there. 1, 2, 3. Pop quiz in your head. What would this hawk be? 4th level consumer. Absolutely. Nice job if you got that one. So we don't have to keep talking about 4th level, 5th level, 6th level, because guess what? You can figure that out. I think you can count to 6. And if you can't, you really should not be in 7th grade. Get down. Stinking dog. So let's look at this and kind of figure some stuff out. Let's use some examples. So we're starting with our producers down here. Here's our primary. They use different words, but it still just means 1st level consumer. So all of these things right here, all 6 of these guys, they are 1st level consumers because you can see the plants are going directly into their bellies. This frog eats the plants. This checker spot eats the plants. This squirrel eats the plants. This deer eats the plants. These are 2nd level consumers, secondary consumers. Whoa, how we doing? So these guys eat 2 steps away from grass. Here's 1 jump, 2 jumps. They eat the things that eat the grass. So this grass goes into the squirrel's belly. The squirrel, let's follow this arrow, goes into the jackrabbit's belly. 2nd level consumer. Let's look at this frog. The frog eats the acorn, and then the ringtail eats the frog. Now tertiary just means 3rd level consumers, coyote, mountain lion, bobcat. These guys eat the things that ate the plants. So let's start down here again. The Pacific tree frog goes into the, let's pick one that's good. The Pacific tree frog goes into the western whiptail's belly. The western whiptail goes into the mountain lion's belly. So let's jump. 1, 2, 3, 3rd level consumer. Now you do have to be careful because the mountain lion and the coyote actually have 2 jobs. It is a 2nd and 3rd level consumer, and let's figure out why. So here's our plants. Let's go to the mule deer. So 1st level. But if you follow this arrow and this arrow, that leads us straight up past and into this level. So we now have, let's start from the mountain lion. We have 1 jump, 2 jumps. So the mountain lion is both a 2nd and a 3rd level consumer. Let's follow the coyote. Follow this line, 1 jump, 2 jumps. Or we can follow 1, 2, 3. So 2nd and 3rd level consumer. We're going to practice this with our activity today and our activity tomorrow. So if you're not completely getting it, that's perfectly okay. But do your best to kind of understand. Keep looking at this picture if you want to challenge yourself. So it always goes, this is our producers. 1 jump away is 1st level. 2 jumps away is 2nd level. 3 jumps away is 3rd level. All right. You should be done with this. Go to Google Classroom or look up on the front whiteboard to figure out where you need to go next.